the spring drain, as we try to drain the concrete, the pea gravel falls into,
We're gonna go with the pregame.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. So I was kind of a surprise.
Yeah, we gotta love those ones, right?
Yeah, I was not sure.
gravel falls into,
We're gonna go with the pregame.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. So kind of a surprise.
Yeah, we gotta love those ones,
Yeah,
right?
I was not sure. Sucks, yeah.
gravel falls into,
All right. What's up, everybody?
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, good afternoon.
It is a wonderful morning / afternoon.
Yes, sir.
What's up, everybody?
No,
Whoa.
am I not?
Where is that coming from? It is a wonderful morning / the echo. Where's that coming from?
I don't know if I heard.
2 seconds. Where's that coming from? It is a wonderful morning / the echo. Where's that coming from? Okay. We better? No echo? Can you guys still hear me? Hello, hello. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Wonderful. All right. Technical problem on my end, but we're good. We are live streaming today. That's why you guys heard that. So we're going live on YouTube. It's always fun. We do this pretty much once every Sales Academy, so today's the day. How did you guys like the homework last night? Everybody get through it? If you're in here, if you could turn your camera on, it'd be much appreciated. I feel like it's fewer every single day. Who memorized the intro script to the point where they can do it live?
Yeah. Is it the intro or at the table?
You should have Mike do a bigger one.
Just the introduction script, yeah.
William. Steve, any change his name? I could do that. That looks easier.
Who is it over there with Chris? I see a hand that just went up.
Yeah,
We got a few,
Go
but
right
I
here.
think Michael's gonna show us the way.
Let's get after it, Michael.
Hey. Dan?
Yeah.
Dan, I'm Michael with Lake Washington Windows and Doors. Thanks for having us in today. We have an appointment at 10 a.m. this morning. Do you mind if may I come in?
Yeah, come on in. Thanks for being on time.
Thanks. That wasn't so great.
That's pretty good. Piece of cake, guys. You've all introduced yourself to people for years. This is not crazy difficult. Let's give them a round of applause. All right. Who wants to do the transition from the door to the kitchen table?
I'll do it.
Kyle, my man.
All right, Kyle Ogeron from Easy Baths. All right, so you walk in and it's, well, John and Mary, before I perform an inspection on your project, I need to gather a little information so in order to serve you better and be efficient with your time. If there's a kitchen table we can sit, that would be great.
Sounds good. Right over here. Nice. Round of applause for Kyle. So you guys are doing this in front of a lot of people. It takes courage to do it. It's hard. Now, who feels like they want to jump on the grenade here and do the full intro at the kitchen table? See, the smart ones got it out of the way early with the short script. Now somebody's got to do the long one. The bad news is, if nobody volunteers, I'm just gonna tell somebody to do it. Come on now. There's a hero amongst you. Oh, man. Let's go with... Pick out somebody here. Somebody on the redo team. You guys got kick-ass leadership down there. I want to see if Lewis is cracking the whip on you. Come on now. Two things are going to happen here. This is going to be uncomfortable for you, and you're going to get better. Embrace the suck. It's part of the gig.
Try it.
I'm a good trier. Get after it.
Okay. Yeah. John and Mary, once again, I would like to thank you for allowing us into your home. We are grateful for the opportunity. While we're here, Redo Cabinets would absolutely love to earn your business on your project. However, the purpose of this meeting today is to inform you of our various products and services. We know that the best consumers are well educated, and we will give you peace of mind with a price that's guaranteed for 30 days so you can relax. We also take this time to make you aware of any special promotions that we have running right now. So if and when you are ready for to move forward with this renovation, you'll have all the information you need to feel comfortable with your decision. We feel that this is a more professional way of doing business. Wouldn't you agree?
Hell yeah. Well, let's give him a round of applause. Now, who is that? You're like an ant on my screen.
My name is Justin DiCioli.
Justin.
Yeah. Funny thing, I worked at Felco before this.
You did this already, right?
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, learning the new script is kind of hard, but I'm very familiar with the step system.
That's the beauty of this. So if you need to know that the system works, there you go. Lots of huge companies use it. Step selling is obviously the only way to go if you want to be consistent. Learning a script, well, we just heard, just so that we know, did you say that from memory or were you reading it?
Oh, I was reading most of it, yeah.
Okay.
I did try to memorize it last night. That one was the one that gave me the stumble.
No doubt. As I said, I had to memorize these scripts. What happens is, even when you get it down where you can remember it, it's going to sound clunky. Anytime you're memorizing a long script, it sounds clunky. It sounds robotic. And that's why most sales reps don't like learning scripts. That just doesn't sound like the way I talk. Well, guess what? Every wonderful movie that we've ever watched was scripted. It's about repetition. So if you think about who your favorite actor or actress is, every word that has ever come out of their mouth on film was written by somebody else. But anytime I watch, Anthony Hopkins act or Denzel, I can't tell they're acting. I suspend my disbelief and that person becomes that character. And your job, like it or not, is a lot of acting. So memorize these scripts as close to verbatim as you can, even if it is conscious competence when there's uhs and ums in there. Because all you're doing is you're creating those wrinkles in your brain where the concept is getting buried deeper and deeper into your mind. And then when you get out in the home, the best part about this job is the homeowner has no idea what you're supposed to say. So if you only execute 50% of the script, you're way better than most of the people they're talking to. And you can say it a million different ways and still get the point across. All right, we're going to do this one more time. I need 3 more volunteers. Who wants to do the whole thing? Is there anybody who feels brave enough? And I don't care if you read it. Can you take me from the front door all the way through the intro at the kitchen table?
Why not, Dan? Joe
Yeah.
Courtney would like to try to do it.
Somebody.
All right, Joe, you're on.
Okay. John?
Yeah.
Hello, John. My name is Joe Courtney. I'm with Grossville University. Thank you for inviting me in your home today. I'm here for our 10 o'clock appointment.
Hey, thanks for showing up on time.
Hey, no problem.
Why don't you come on in?
That was on the second. That's fun. Oh, man. This is why we get better, right?
Hell yeah, this is why we get better.
Oh, man.
Yeah, Windows right over here. Why don't I show you?
Boy, jump in. We got a ringer.
Get it, Coy.
I'm 4 on the second part.
What are you guys selling me right now?
Well, you got sunrooms on my right and bathrooms on my left.
All right. Well, bathroom's right over here. Let me show you.
All right, Dan. Well, where I really want to take a look at your project, but first I need to gather some information in order to serve you better and make better efficient or make your time or make time go more efficiently. So if we could sit at the kitchen table, that would be great.
Well, that sounds good. I like efficiency.
All right. Well, once again, Dan, thank you for inviting us into your home today. We really appreciate the opportunity. Now, where Jacob would absolutely love to earn your business today. However, that's the purpose of our appointment today is really to find out what your needs and wants are. And, oh, I froze.
Keep going. You're going great. I like that. Improvisation's
Hold on. No, don't tell me. Don't tell me I got it.
Line.
No,
Line.
shut up. Quiet, please. Pause. Where Jacob would absolutely love to earn your business today. However, the purpose of this appointment is to find out what your needs and wants are and to provide you with information on our products and services that we offer. We found that most of our consumers are our best customers or educated customers. And so we'll leave you with a total investment that is good for 30 days so you can relax. We will also inform you of any current promotions that we're running right now. Okay, hold on. No, I'm not going to read. So if and when you decide to do the work, you'll have all the information you need to feel comfortable with your decision. So this is more. Hold on. What?
helping.
So we really feel this is the more professional way to do business. Wouldn't you agree?
I sure would. That sounds great. I hate pushy salespeople. Give him a round of applause. That's awesome. All right, Jacob.
Thanks, boy. Thank you, Joe.
Jacob's the name of the company, FYI. You guys are awesome. All right, so you guys can see it takes a lot of repetitions to get this down. And to get it down to a place where you can do it without thinking about it is where we want to get you to. So I want you to imagine something that you can do unconsciously. Has anybody ever been driving home somewhere and their mind starts wandering? And next thing you know, you're just pulling in the driveway. You have no idea how you got there. It's like you teleported because your hands and feet were doing everything on autopilot. I want you to get these scripts to that level. I want you to get, more importantly, these concepts to that level. All right? If you're not there yet, I have no expectation that anybody would be there. You know, we talked about this 24 hours ago, but you got to keep going. And keep in mind, guys, if you can't do this one off the top of your head yet, we have more and more scripts we add to this as we move forward, and you test out on them at the end of the 2 weeks. So the lift is real heavy here. But if you guys can get this down, we're talking about multiple six-figure income for the rest of your life. And it doesn't take you 8 or 12 years to get that degree. We're talking 2 weeks. And then constant reinforcement and refinement. Does anybody have any questions or anything they wanted to talk about based on the content from last night? Was there anything that stood out to you?
Yeah, the words total investment, I notice you're not using bid or price. Is that, I mean, I'm assuming that's intentional. Could you talk about that more?
Absolutely. So we're going to talk about a lot of trigger words, but to Chad's point, we don't want to talk about the price of something. You know, we don't want to talk about their monthly payment. These are trigger words. What kind of things do you make a monthly payment on?
A big car note or a big house note,
Yeah.
a mortgage, a death grip.
Yeah, we don't sign contracts. How many of you guys like signing contracts? I mean, you're salespeople, so you love signing them when you're selling them, but if you're the customer, it sucks. Contracts are like prison sentences. So we want to stay away from that. We use total investment because investments appreciate over time. This is awesome. We can get this entire project started, and the total investment is only $17,462, whatever the number is. We'll talk more about that when we get into closing, but that's why we use those words. That's another part of this, being intentional with the words you use while you're role playing. We don't want to use trigger words. We got to start breaking those bad habits because you practice how you play. Yep. We got a hand raised. Go ahead.
John. Yeah, a quick question. What are your thoughts on calling prior to the appointment to confirm it?
I've talked to a lot of companies who do, like, they have the rep who does a warm welcome call and they set the expectations for the appointment. If that's the company policy, I would want to make sure that I'm using my voice as a weapon. I want to sound disarming and affable. I want to get on a first name basis, and I want to be specifically vague about my intentions at the house. I just want to kind of set the parameters for the appointment. Now, as a sales rep who worked with a call center, I want the call center, like if I'm running a first call close opportunity, I want my first interaction with the homeowner to be at their front door. I would prefer not to talk to them on the phone ahead of time. Because you just imagine, has anybody ever talked to somebody on the phone before they met them and you start to make like a mental picture of what this person looks like and who they are? And then you meet them in person and reality is different from their imagination. Sometimes that's positive, sometimes it's negative. I want to be face to face. Yep, Brent, go ahead.
Can you hear me okay, sir?
Sure can.
Good morning, by the way. And through all of this, I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but the one thing that I really have going for me that I try to infiltrate in what I was working on last night, me and Daryl were working together, is I build massive rapport at the door. And I can't say that I've ever been porched. I'm not trying to be arrogant. It just something about this cowboy hat and this accent. It just, I might talk about their license plate or the car in the driveway, and I don't talk about any of this stuff. And for some odd reason, it just kind of segues into, we go down that hallway and we sit in that chair.
Yeah.
So
if you are, I mean, there are certain intangibles certain sales reps have, and that's one of them. Like if you're fortunate enough to have a voice like butter, you're not going to get resistance from people at the door. They're going to want to talk to you and they don't know why. There is a rep who I work with. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just saying, I'm not trying to go against the system. I'm working on, I want to be successful and a good team player, but I build a lot of rapport and hopefully that's okay, because it seems to weave into what I'm trying to do,
Absolutely. Rapport is essential. We're going to talk a lot about that today. Yesterday, we talked about building trust. Likability is incredibly important. And there are certain people, I'm sure a lot of you in here, people just gravitate towards you naturally. It's just part of who you are. They want to be around you. They want to talk to you. There are reasons for that we're going to get into today. But if you have a natural skill set, never apologize for it, lean into it. How many of you guys feel like you're natural salespeople? Yeah, natural chameleon. It's good. That's why we get into sales. I shouldn't say nobody, but most of the people that I talk to, if they don't have that thing, they don't get into sales. In fact, those are the people who go, you guys probably had customers who say this to you, I could never do what you do. Why? Being in sales has got to be so hard. How do you do it every day? They don't get it because they're not you. They don't have that thing. So there's a guy that I work with at Payless Kitchens and Baths. The guy's name's Joe. He's got a British accent. It's not fair. Just isn't. He walks up and starts talking to you. I'd listen to that guy read the phone book. You know what I mean? So he sells based on that accent. I guarantee it. He sounds smart and trustworthy to the American ear. So if you got it, flaunt it, man. Anything else that you guys want to dive into before we move into step 3? I think somebody in here is new today. I just saw a name pop up that I don't recognize. Nicole, and I will try to pronounce your last name, but I'd probably do it an injustice. How you doing, Nicole?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We're wonderful. Where are you from?
I am from Placerville, California.
Nice. What company are you with?
I am with Vivify Remodeling.
Vivify Remodeling. All right. What's your background? How long you been selling?
I have pretty much done sales most of my adult life. I have owned my own staging business. I've owned my own design firm. I've been at the design portion for about 8 years now, and I just absolutely love it.
Oh, it's so much fun. Well, we're
Yeah.
happy you're here. I would introduce you to everybody, but we did that on the first day. It took like an hour.
That's okay. Hi, everybody.
There you go. Everybody say hi. All right.
Hi.
So we are going to, I'm going to be muting mics and then unmuting mics. Chris Harry just joined too. Chris, how you doing? All right. He's a talker.
Doing well. You might see me popping in. Internet's wonky.
Wait, say that again.
I said I'm doing well. With LEI, I was the Florence CEO the other day. I might be in and out. My internet's messing up today for some reason.
I got you. Okay. This was LEI. No problem. People are going to be coming and going. There's a lot of people who jump in here to see what we're doing. A lot of people do retraining or they like to do one day. So today, if there's nothing else about intro that you guys want to bring up.
Yeah. Dan,
go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, and I do have a question.
Sure.
Sometimes I go to the door and they have a Ring camera. How do you handle that?
Does anybody in here have a Ring camera? Do you get an alert on your phone that's motion activated? All right. So usually they know you're there, and I feel like it's redundant to ring a doorbell, and I'm allergic to doorbells anyway. So I walk up, and as I walk by the Ring camera, I'll wave at it, and I'll hold up my little name tag so they know who I am. And then I'll wait a couple seconds, 10 seconds or so. If they don't come to the door, then I knock. I want to give them a chance to get off their butts and come open the door. And sometimes they'll start talking to you, as you guys know. Yeah, what do you want? I'm like, ah, crap, this guy again. Hey, how you doing? Dan, Grouse University, good to see you. Here for a 10 o'clock appointment. Well, I'm at the office. Awesome, okay. So, they got the technology lean into it, you know. Last part about this is, I don't think we touched on this yesterday, but I want to make sure that everybody knows, just as a policy, when I was at Mad City, we had to make a phone call from every single appointment that we ran. It was part of the contract that we signed when we started there. And if you didn't do this, it was a fireable offense. So there's a couple different types of phone calls that we would make. The first phone call is you knock on the door, nobody answers, knock again, nobody answers, ring the doorbell, nobody answers. Then we call the office because it's a potential no-show. They reach out to the homeowner, try to get in contact with them. If they can't get in contact with them, we had to sit there and wait in our car for, like I said, for about 30 to 45 minutes, see if they'd come home. And then we would bounce. So that's the first phone call. It's a no-show. Second phone call is if you have to reset the appointment for any reason. Now, I do not want you guys resetting an appointment in 5 minutes. If it's a one-legger, sometimes things change with time. So my rule with one-leggers is I'm going to go through the first 5 steps of the process. We're getting through company story before I decide to either reset it or just go forward and pitch and deliver price. And that's all based on your experience, you know. Is this a good look that I can't sell because the spouse is not here? Where if I reset it and circumstances change, it's a high percentage I'm going to close it? Because if so, I'll reset that. But more often than not, I was talking to somebody this morning who ran an appointment. It was a one-legger. They reset it. So they talked to the husband. They reset it. They went back for the second appointment. It was a one-legger with the wife. So she met independently with both homeowners, and neither one of them pulled the trigger. It was designed that way. So now she's 0 for 2, and it was a one-legger twice. That's why I don't like resetting them if I can avoid it. I'd rather just err on the side of pitching and moving on with my life. So that's the second type of phone call. If for some reason there's a legitimate time constraint or it needs to be reset because it's a one-legger with a high percentage to close later, I will call and reset it. We reset it from the house. We have the office literally put it in the schedule for us. So it's a hard reset. And we want to reset it as quickly as possible. I don't want this to be a week out. I want to get out there ideally within 48 to 72 hours max. The third call that we make is the one you guys want to make all the time, which is, I wrote a deal, hooray. And I'm calling to set up a site inspection to have a measure tech go out. Or I'm calling in the results to the office to dispo my appointment. And then the fourth call is one that we had to make at every appointment, but it's not my favorite call to make. It's a higher authority close call. And the reason I don't like it, well, I like it because it helps me write business. So don't hear what I'm not saying. Higher authority closes do work. I don't like it because it means I have to admit to myself and my boss that I couldn't do this without his help. And I am a prideful salesperson. I feel like I'm pretty creative in the house and I know what I'm doing. So if I got to call daddy for help, it really rubs me the wrong way. That doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. It just means that I don't want to be calling every day for somebody to help me close it. That means I'm not doing my job properly. But if I can't close it on my own and I feel like one more price drop or one more, some sort of a discount or an incentive is going to get us over the finish line, I need a legitimate reason for us to give that discount. So I have to call somebody else who can then make a legitimate offer and then give a legitimate reason why they can do that. Otherwise, we're just throwing discounts out there for no reason and the whole game falls apart. So those are the 4 calls you got to make. Hopefully you're just making call number 3 all the time. Wrote another one. That's the best one. Any questions about that? Cool. Okay. Anything else? I don't want to leave anybody twisting in the wind here. We got a lot to cover today. We're good? All right. If you think of something, jump in. Today, we're going to be getting into step 3, which is the survey or the needs assessment. Oh, Blue Umbrella, your mic's not working. Okay. I mean, it seems like an excuse. Like you just don't want to role play. Don't worry. We'll figure it out. No, are you saying that because you had something you wanted to add to this? No. Okay. I don't know sign language, so I can't really do anything about it. All right. So how many of you guys have done a survey before or a needs analysis with a homeowner? How long does that typically take? That long, huh? Josh?
Well, yeah, in solar in the past, it takes a little longer because, you know, you got to look at the meter and you got to look at the attic. And so probably, I don't know, I would say 25 to 35 minutes, somewhere in there.
It sound about right to everybody in here? 25, 35 minutes? What are we doing with a needs assessment? We're talking to the homeowner. What are we trying to do?
You try to figure out their goals, what they're trying to achieve.
Exactly, their goals. Why am I here? What else?
And the
Get their hot buttons. Get
their hot buttons. Yeah. What'd you say, Josh? Dwight says hot buttons. He's dead on.
Well, you're trying to establish the problems that you have a solution for.
Yeah. This is the discovery phase. What else are we trying to figure out? We got to know why we're there, what they're dealing with.
Find the pain.
Find the pain. Why is pain important?
Why now?
Make them feel it so that they don't fall again, and we can bring that solution.
To create urgency.
Yeah. If they don't have urgency, they're not buying. And people feel urgency in different ways, right? For different reasons. My number one goal when I'm doing a survey is to figure out the prospect. We always say, you know, Brian Smith's famous line, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And one of the biggest mistakes I see from sales reps in the field is they start selling too early.
Too early.
Yep, Blue Umbrella. Why now? It's not just why are we doing this, it's why are we doing this now? Something has changed. These people didn't just call and set up an appointment to have a salesperson come to their house for no reason. People don't want to deal with salespeople. So if we're there, they have a problem. So we want to walk you through how to make sure that if we're doing a needs analysis, it is natural, it is comfortable, and it's conversational. Has anybody in here ever been on the other side of the table where you're the customer talking to somebody who's selling you something? Kyle, how'd it go?
Sometimes it goes good. Sometimes I'm just like, I can't believe this guy's a salesperson.
Oh, yeah.
Or gal.
Yeah.
It can be brutal. We want to make sure that if you're doing a needs assessment the right way, you have a lot of questions that are preconceived so you know what information you're trying to extract. So I have a form. Does everybody in here actually have a survey that they bring in the house with all the questions written down? So how'd you hear about us? How long have you owned the home? How long do you plan on staying here? Have you seen any incentive programs we got going on? What are you dealing with? How do you vet contractors? All that stuff. Are you a cash or finance buyer? But nobody likes being interrogated. This has to be a conversation, not an interrogation. So we want to focus on how to make it conversational. And it starts by asking a lot of questions. Now we focus on two categories of question, open-ended and closed-ended. Which ones are we going to ask the most of in a survey?
Open-ended.
Open.
Yep, open-ended questions. Does anybody in here use any sort of recording software like Rilla or Zero?
Yes.
So the coolest thing about these programs, if you're not familiar with them, is they record interactions in the home, and then they compile insane amounts of data for us so that we can see everything down to your rate of speech, the interactivity score, how many open-ended questions you ask. And the craziest thing, if we're just looking at Rilla data, is that when they compiled the information over the first 500,000 appointments they recorded in the home in our industry, they found that the top 1% of salespeople in the nation ask 5 times more open-ended questions than average salespeople. And they do it throughout the entire appointment. But not a few more, 5 times as many. So the hardest thing about sales, at least in my experience, is there's a Jocko Willink quote. He says this about leadership, but I think it translates to sales. He goes, leadership is really hard because it's all on you, but it's not about you. The same thing is true in sales. It is all on us, but it has nothing to do with us. It is all about the prospect. And prospects are like icebergs, right? 90% of the stuff we need to know is below the surface, and a lot of them keep it close to the vest. Easiest way to do it, ask an open-ended question, see what they say, and then ask layering questions. Now, I do not want to dive right into the details of the project right off the bat with most people. We want to warm them up. So here's an acronym for you. We're going to have a couple acronyms today. The first one is called FORM. How many of you are familiar with FORM? What's it stand for? What's the F stand for?
Family.
Family. Why on earth would it be important to talk to somebody about their family?
That's what they love the most.
Yep. That's what they feel the most emotion about. Let's say that. How many of you guys have a crazy family? All right, either your hands up or you're lying to yourself, right? No matter what, no matter which family member I'm talking about, I'm feeling very strong emotions about that person. The reason it's important to talk to them about their family is everyone's got a crazy family, and it's very easy to relate to somebody else because your family's nuts too. So I like to build common ground when we talk about family. If they've got kids, so do I. I actually do. I'm not making that up. I got a 6-year-old son. I talk about it. What's that? Tony?
Steve.
Oh, Steve, sorry. Anytime I see something light up, I'm just going to call the name that's on there because there's way too many of you guys. All right. So one of the things that I used to have a lot of success with is if somebody had little kid shoes around their front door, that was my icebreaker. I'd walk in and I'd just be like, nice, this looks just like my foyer. My little guy's 6. How old are yours? Now, if you don't have kids, make sure that you're not being creepy about this. I don't want to be like, so,
That's awesome.
how old are your kids? It's a little weird, but I do want to get them talking about it because if they've got young children, maybe they're going to be in that house for a long time. We talked about this the other day. That's going to open the door to a conversation about ROI. I'm going to focus on things like durability when I'm talking about the product that we offer. Nothing tests the durability of a whatever, like a 6-year-old, right? So I want to make sure that we are on the same page about that. The other issue is if we're talking to them about family, they might have pretty specific needs when it comes to design. Yeah. If I'm selling something like a walk-in shower, I'm going to be talking to them about things that matter. So water pressure is a big deal for a lot of people. Water temperature. So our centralized valve system is pressure and temperature control. Now this is important when you get a house full of kids, because I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, we had the old 2-valve system, hot and cold. And I used to be in the shower, and my sister, when she was pissed at me, would flush the toilet, and she'd fry my ass. Does that ever happen to you guys? Siblings, right? They're awesome. But now we can actually control the temperature that comes through this. So no matter what the load is, the demand on your water supply in the house, this maintains temperature within 3 degrees. And scald proofing is very important when you have young children, am I right? So I'm tailoring my pitch specifically to them. Maybe it's things they hadn't even thought about yet. But we got to make sure they understand family is important to them. It's important to us. This is how you benefit and how your family benefits from buying my product, because I get it. What other reasons do you think of that are important to talk about family?
Well, besides themselves, that's who they love the most. So, you know, you're really creating a good rapport with them.
Yeah. If they got a bunch of kids, what's their financial situation?
Bad.
Great.
You guys know, if you got kids, you're like, it's freaking brutal, man. Most expensive thing I ever did.
Yeah.
Odds are they're probably going to be receptive to financing. Now, once again, I just want to tee this off by saying I'm painting with a very broad brush here. So if this doesn't apply to the person you're talking to, obviously adjust accordingly, but we're looking at numbers here. I just want to go high percentage chances because I'm throwing lines in the water early on. And if I figure out who they are, every time I say something that's a generalization and they bite on it, I'm like, sweet, I know how these people see the world now. I know what
And
they're doing.
if they don't have kids, they usually have pets, and those are like their kids.
Oh my God. How many of you guys have sold something because the dog liked you?
Oh yeah.
Tell them that we go to the dog first.
Yeah, sometimes, you know, if the dog likes you and they start licking you, you go, oh my God, that she hates everyone. I can't believe she's, you know, that deal is sold. You know it's sold.
Somebody in here, I couldn't hear who said it, but they said, we sell the dog first. I love that, dude. That's awesome. Yeah, if we sell the dog first, we're in good shape. Who said that? Was that Jacob?
What's that?
I thought somebody over at Jacob said that because the mic popped up.
I think Steve said it.
Not mine. Uh-oh. I've been talking about you, Dan. I can't believe my mic's not muted.
Yeah, you're not muted.
No, I actually I could add something there on that pet thing. That many years ago, selling sunrooms, I walked in this house, and I mean it was a hellhole in a place called Castle Acres. That's code for trailer park. And I go in there, they want a sunroom, and they have a porch that Thomas Construction, if you're familiar with our market, they were the major player way back when. And these couple had these two Pomeranians. One was white, one was tan, and the names were Sparkle and Snowball. Once I had Sparkle and Snowball on my shoulders, we were done. We were just done. They could not believe that those dogs were so enamored with me, and they ended up buying. I'm gonna turn off that mic now because I don't even know what I said about people on the screen.
That's awesome. Well, we talk about this in every class, and every sales rep in the United States, if you've been doing this for any amount of time, you've had this experience. That dog doesn't like anybody, but he trusts you. And that dog's a good judge of character. What a stupid reason to buy something. But they all do it. And I lean right into it. I'd be like, ah, they all know a sucker when they see one. Or, you know, I usually grease my hair with bacon grease in the morning. Old salesman trick, right? Some stupid thing like that. So it doesn't matter why they buy or why they trust you. We need them to trust us. So lean into whatever advantage you have. Would you have? That's Steve over there?
I used to polish my shoes with banana peels.
Sneaky.
It gives you a good shine, and the dogs love it.
That's awesome. Freaking hilarious. All right. So family is very important. Doesn't matter what their family is, we want to talk about it. Last thing I'll say about this is I just mentioned you got young kids, that's one thing. If they got older kids and they're about to leave the nest, what do a lot of people do when their kids end up moving out?
Remodel.
They remodel. Hell yeah. This is Nicole, man. She's like, I'm on it. No, we spend your money and we stay here. A lot of people do. A lot of people will actually convert their house. They don't need the bathtub anymore. They're going to do a walk-in shower. And sometimes they do it for themselves. If that's their long-term house, sometimes they downsize. I want to have that conversation with them. Are you guys doing this project for you long-term? Or are you guys making updates to this house so that you can flip it and downsize? And see what they say. Because that's going to really impact the way we design the system for them. I can tell them what's really popular right now. Are you guys selling in 2 years, 5 years? What's the long-term timeline? Because you guys know in the home improvement world, there is a style cycle. It's usually 8 to 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're staying here for the rest of your life, let's put in something that is specific to you. But if we're going to be selling at some point in the near future, I know what's hot right now because we want to get people into a bidding war on this property. That's how you get the maximum return on investment here. You're steering the entire conversation, and it starts by understanding what their plans are. All right, so that's family. We go on and on about this. It's so important. Get them into an emotional frame of mind, see you as a human being. Easiest way to build collaboration, especially this time of year. Talk about holidays and whatnot. Then comes the O in form. O stands for occupation. Now, why do we want to talk to people about what they do for work?
Relatable.
Yep. Relatable.
We may want to adjust the way we sell.
Yeah, can you elaborate on that, Chad?
Yeah, if they're an engineer or something, then I'm going to be a little more analytical, going to focus on the science of it and not take that approach instead of something else.
Yeah. And how long is that sit going to be?
5 hours.
5 freaking hours. There's an old joke, you know, why is there only a stairway to heaven and a highway to hell? It's because of the traffic, right? Well, I had a sales rep who goes, that's not why. Obviously, the engineering would be way better going to hell. You know what I mean? That's where those assholes are all heading. The infrastructure is better. We, as salespeople, I don't know about you, but like when I talk to the vast majority of people, they hate selling to engineers. Those are the people who are like, we're getting 12 quotes. I've got a spreadsheet going. It's going to take me 9 months to make a decision. So as soon as I understand that they are an engineer, there's 2 things that I have to do right off the bat. 1, strap in, because this is going to be a long one. I got to burn them out. And 2, they think that they are logical. And this is the problem with analytical people. If you look at the difference between emotion and logic when it comes to decision making, what percentage of making decisions would you guys say is emotional?
80%.
80%?
90, 100. Yeah.
90, 100. Here's the thing. Our decision-making part of our brain is housed within the limbic region of our brain, which does not understand language. So it's 100% emotional. But analytical people, data-driven people, if you told them that, they'd be like, I'm the exception to that rule. I make all my decisions logically. And you can prove them wrong immediately because they don't make a decision until they have enough information that they feel comfortable moving forward. So they have to see you as the end-all, be-all when it comes to expert level of whatever you're selling. That's hard, especially early in your career. How many of you guys feel like you are home improvement experts? If you are not a subject matter expert, and I've been doing this 20 years, I am not a subject matter expert. I study this stuff nonstop. I know how all the systems work together, but I learn something new every day. It always changes because the climate's changing, building methodology and codes are changing all the time. You have to know this stuff backwards and forwards because the thing that analysts really value is intelligence, intellect. That's when they feel comfortable. Has anybody first call closed an engineer before?
I have,
Yeah, go ahead, Nicole.
I have a client right now that's pretty much exactly what you're talking about. He's not a full engineer, but he's in the analytical field. And I swear to goodness, they must have, without exaggeration, 20 different tiles sitting in their bathroom right now. We're probably about 4 weeks into this, and we still haven't completely decided on the shower tile. He has his spreadsheets, he has his drawings, he has everything. But I played to the part of, them needing it with their children and that kind of thing. And boom, we got him on the first time.
There you go. You have to figure out what makes this person move, because they are the type that experience paralysis by analysis. So we got to figure out how to create enough urgency that urgency overwhelms their predisposed, systematized attack of solving problems. That's probably been on their honeydew list for 5 years,
Oh, at least, or more.
Yeah, for sure. So we got to figure out how to steer them in the right direction. This is why I always want to talk to people about their jobs. So I had a homeowner, I went out to this house in Janesville, Wisconsin, and this was 2020, and it was early spring. It was actually right after the lockdown. So I go out to this guy's house, and he opens the door. This is when we were all wearing masks. So you had to remember, if you're wearing a mask, you got to smile with your eyes because people can't see your mouth. So he opens the door, and we said yesterday, you immediately start making value judgments on each other. This guy's wearing a plaid button-down shirt. He's about 6'2", 160 pounds, soaking wet. And he's got the Drew Carey haircut, the pocket protector. So immediately, big horn rim glasses. I'm like, nerd. And I'm sure he looked at me and he's like, freaking Neanderthal. So he goes, hey, I'm going to open the garage door. We got you set up out there. This is when COVID was scaring the shit out of people. So I was wearing a mask. He was wearing a mask. He opens the garage door. I go out there, and there's a 10-foot long folding card table with 2 chairs at one end and 1 chair at the other. So he and his wife sit down 10 feet away from me. So far, we're doing pretty good, right? I can't see their faces because we're wearing masks, and they can't see anything I'm doing at the end of the table. And as we start talking, this guy's kind of a cold fish, and he's feeling me out. And I asked him what he did for work, and he said, I run the nuclear physics department for the University of Wisconsin-Madison. I was like, oh my God. Okay, so on an IQ scale, like, I'm not even the same species as this guy. But I remembered something that I had read off of a Snapple cap at some point somewhere. I probably learned this in 7th grade history about the Manhattan Project. So I just asked him a question. I was like, you are the perfect person for me to ask this. And pardon my ignorance, I'm going to sound really stupid. But I think I read somewhere that during the Manhattan Project, they had the cohort of scientists, and a few of them were terrified that if they released the atomic energy in the bomb, that it would start a chain reaction, igniting all the oxygen in the atmosphere and kill everything on the planet. Is that true? And I shut up. And all those crow's feet around his eyes lit up. I could tell he was smiling from 10 feet away. And he goes, that is an interesting question. And then 25 minutes straight, he was telling me not only about the Manhattan Project, but this actually started in 1896. All of these physicists coalesced in Eastern Europe. I'm like, holy shit. And he pulls out this book called The Making of the Atomic Bomb. We're not 10 feet apart anymore. We're shoulder to shoulder. Now the mask doesn't matter because now I'm interesting. Because he's interesting.
Yeah.
Everything from that moment on was collaborative, and they were all buying questions all the way down. And I was like, dude, I never get to nerd out on window tech with anybody because let's be real. If we're talking about layering low E on glass, who cares? But you care, and I do too. So I'm going to get super technical with this, and you're going to love it. And I gave him the most ridiculous window presentation that I've ever been allowed to give to a homeowner because he was in on it. It's like Bill Nye the Science Guy. And he bought. It's a lay down. No objections, just where do I sign? Occupation matters. I am not going to talk to a bartender the same way I talk to that guy. And neither should you. It also gives you a pretty good idea of how much money they make, right? So you're talking to, a high-profile attorney. They got 6 figures in the couch cushions. Sometimes they might be house poor, but pretty good bet that money's not going to be the problem. Now, there are 3 different types of people that we talk about. We just talked about the data analyst. Sorry, go ahead. Oh, Nicole, you got a hot mic. Sorry, I'm going to mute you. Feel free to unmute if you want to add. The next step in this, we'll finish the form acronym before we get into the other two personality types. But if we've talked about their family, we've talked about their occupation, we get into the R in form, which is recreation. And this one, I think, is really important for a lot of reasons. But how many of you guys have hobbies? Who wants to share? What's your hobby? Everybody's real shy all of a sudden.
I'm a golfer.
You're a golfer. How often do you golf?
I try to get out a couple times a week.
Damn, you're a serious golfer. What's your handicap?
Right around 10.
Oh my God. Okay. So if I break triple digits, I'm feeling pretty good. Do you have custom clubs?
I got them fitted. Yeah.
I was looking into this. I haven't done it yet, but being in sales, you kind of have to, that's where a lot of deals are made. What does it cost to get a high quality set of custom clubs?
Between $2,000 and $3,000 all in.
Is it worth it?
If you're going to be out playing, I mean, especially at your size, you would definitely need a custom set if you're 6'5".
Nice. Right on.
If you're trying to play something off the shelf, you're gonna be crouched down. You're not gonna get full extension. It's gonna be a problem.
So how do they vary in cost from just like a standard? If I went to Dick's and I just bought one off the rack, how much do those cost?
Those are probably gonna run you between $1,000 and
$2,000.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that's not bad. You spend, 150 to 200% of what you otherwise would to get something.
Well, I mean, you could definitely go higher.
Sure. Well, I understand that, but remember, breaking triple digits is my goal. So
yeah, there you go.
All right. So we talk about his hobby. He just price conditioned me on the difference between standard and high quality custom. Yeah. When I start talking to him about my solution, my product is your custom golf clubs. I already know that you buy things based on quality now when it pertains to your hobby. It's very easy for me to relate my custom window, patio, custom kitchen cabinetry, whatever it is, to your already existing buying habits. So I was working with a lot of outdoorsmen in Wisconsin, and I used to talk to hunters all the time. And I would get them talking about their gun or their bow. And I would get them to tell me how much it costs. Oh man, this thing's sweet. I'd be like, is it stock or modded out? Dude, this thing's modded to the hilt. Let me get it. I'll show it to you. They're cradling this thing like it's their kid. I'm like, Jesus, what a freaking weapon. How much did that set you back? And they tell me. I'd be like, was it worth it? Every penny. Like, yeah, you probably wouldn't want to be out there staring down a pack of wolves if you didn't have that sucker. Whatever the hell it is. Obviously, my ignorance is showing. I grew up in suburban Chicago, right? Like, not a hunter. But I get them talking about what they're interested in, and now it gives me a talking point later on. My window is just like that gun. It never jams, right? Last one's motivation. A little trailer to put on recreation. The other bonus here is when people are talking about things they do for fun, they start to think about that thing consciously and subconsciously. And your brain cannot tell the difference between real and imagined experiences. So for those of you who have a hobby, like when I think about playing softball, I used to be a cleanup hitter. I start to literally feel what it was like when I would tie into a softball and just launch it. And that's a free dopamine hit. So you're biohacking people when you get them talking about things they enjoy. And then they tie that neurochemical reaction to you, which is good. All right, last one, motivation. What motivates people? Why the hell would somebody spend 20 grand on a shower? Go ahead.
Either pain or pleasure.
Pain or pleasure, yeah.
Two biggest motivators.
Go ahead over at Jacobs. You guys unmuted. Did you have something you want to add?
No, do we unmute?
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
Okay.
You're killing me.
You're killing me. You're not killing me.
How about comfort, ease of use?
Yeah, comfort, ease of use. Yep. Megan. Is it Megan or Megan?
It's Megan.
Megan. Sorry.
Anything at this point. It's been 30 years. I'm fine with either one. So the biggest thing that I found for people's motivators is reclaiming independence, because I work with showers.
That makes a lot of sense, right? If you can figure out what motivates somebody, I have yet to meet somebody who is just geeked to spend a ton of money on a home improvement project. It's very rare where they're just like, you know what? We woke up this morning, we won the lottery, and we just got like 80 grand burning a hole in our pockets. We were like, I wonder what the shower guy's up to. It doesn't happen. They're doing it for a reason. We got to figure that out. I told you yesterday about the guy whose mother-in-law fell and broke her hip. That's motivation. Money be damned. He was ready to set that on fire if it meant taking care of his mother-in-law. We figure that out. We know what levers to pull in their brain. What's the weirdest reason that anyone's ever bought anything from you? Does anybody have any weird motivations that they've heard?
Jealousy, probably.
I was going to say
Ooh.
keeping up with the Joneses.
Keeping up with the Joneses is a good one. David, did you say jealousy?
Yeah, same thing. Keeping up with your neighbors.
Has anybody ever had somebody buy because they're going through a divorce and they're trying to hurt their partner?
Yes.
Absolutely.
I had a woman who's getting divorced and she just wanted to spend money. So she got like a house full of windows. She got siding. She got roofing. It was crazy.
It is wild. I have been surprised by people who do that so many times. Shocking. So now price is not a problem. Sell them at retail. I want to know that early on. I mean, if that's your motivation, don't let me talk you out of it. Let's take that bastard for every penny. You know what I mean? Getting what he deserves. I'm always agreeing with him. Go ahead.
Hey, Dan.
Yeah.
I had this one client, I was selling windows to her, and her husband had cheated on her, and he was out of town for like 3 months. And she said, when I come back, I want to have new windows, a new roof. She had a electrician that was refitting the house, with the new panel and all of this. She said, I'm going to spend at least $50,000.
Yeah, it's
So
hard to
amazing.
control your breathing when you hear that one, right?
Dwight, you're like,
Exactly. Exactly.
If
But,
spending 150K is your target, I'm sure we can figure that out.
But I was a little concerned because I didn't want the guy to come back and just go, berserk. Because I'm just imagining if my wife did something like that.
Well, as a
God.
side note, gentlemen, if you just heard that, keep it in your pants. You know what I mean? If you're married, hell hath no fury, right? So,
Amen.
it's good advice. I personally, as long as it is legal and we're not like, this is something that's important in this situation. If they're financing this, we are not financing this in anybody's name except the person who's sitting there. Don't break any laws. Don't do anything that's immoral, obviously. Like, I'm joking around. Like, 150K is the target. We can totally hit that. Stay in your lane, but sell it profitably. Know that you don't have to discount. I'm not negotiating against myself. And they just told me exactly how to close them. If she goes, that's way too much, I'd be like, listen, you told me you want to spend a bunch of your husband's money. We designed something that is awesome here. I mean, we can start to take things out of it if we want to control the budget a little bit, but I think you deserve what you want.
What if one of their parents decides they want to finance it for them?
Well, this is different, right? So you got to make sure you understand. We'll get into this when we get into financial terms. But I have sold jobs as long as everybody is on the up and up. I have checked identification so that if I'm financing somebody, I know I'm financing that person. They're signing off on it. As long as I am covering my own butt, we're good. But covering your butt financially is really important. When I was working at Window Works, we had a situation that kind of falls into this category where one of our sales reps went out and he talked to this husband and wife and he ended up selling them a whole house of windows. And this was hammered into our brain. You check the ID, you verify the address and everything, and you make sure that's the person that you're looking at. So this guy financed the whole deal. They put a minimum deposit down for a whole house of windows. A couple weeks later, the company gets a really pissed off phone call from this guy, and he goes, "Hey, why was financing taken out in my name? I've been out of the country for 3 weeks. Financing was taken out in my name for this huge window project. I didn't buy these windows." Well, it turns out his wife was cheating on him with his twin brother.
Oh.
And that's who was at the house. Identical twin brother. So the sales rep was looking at the dude, checking the ID, and the wife was about to leave the dude who was away on business. And wild stuff, right? You got to cover your butt. You never know what kind of wild stuff people are going to pull. A lot of scammers out there. That's why attention to detail matters so much.
So how do you verify that if his ID matches who you're looking at?
You don't, but you check the ID. You scan it into the software. If you guys are doing financing in-house, if you're using Service or Green Sky or any of these companies where you can scan in the driver's license, that's how you do it. You're like, I covered my butt. I scanned this thing in. We've got a paper trail to prove it. Fortunately, the sales rep didn't get in trouble. I don't know what happened to the wife. They ended up having to cancel the deal, which sucked because it was past precision. But what are you going to do? Take this guy to court? He didn't buy it. So what we want to do to wrap this whole thing up is when we're talking about family and occupation and recreation and motivation, we're getting people into an emotional frame of mind and we're figuring out how they live their life, which is going to show us how their worldview, basically how to influence them based on their worldview. Anybody in here ever meet somebody who's super cynical? Do you use that to your advantage when you're positioning them to close them? How about people who are super optimistic? Pretty easy to get them to play a positive movie in their mind. They're already on that wavelength. So I want to meet them where they are. If I know how they are identifying as people, I want to plant my seeds next to all of their identity, politics, or religion, or whatever it is in their mind, who they are as people, because that's fertile ground. If I can drop a seed in that area in their brain, it's way, way more likely to grow into their belief system. Now, when you talk to people about this stuff and you ask them questions and you show genuine interest, has anybody ever had somebody who all of a sudden starts telling them way too much personal information? Yeah. Why does that happen?
Because they trust you enough to confide in you. You've built up a rapport so much that they're going to start treating you like a friend.
Yeah, we call this the self-disclosure loop. So when you ask somebody an open-ended question and they answer it, and then you follow up with another pointed question that shows them that you are actively listening to them, they will answer it with more detail. And then you rinse and repeat over and over again until they're giving you paragraphs back. Has anybody ever said to you, I've never told anybody this, but Mr. Window Salesman, and then they lay out some crazy secret they've been holding on for 50 years? I had this old woman I was talking to about a shower, and she was talking about how life's been really hard, and she's on a fixed income, and she's got all this medical debt because she's been struggling with her diabetes, and the medication got more expensive. And now she's got this open lesion on her foot, and would I like to see it? It's like 10 minutes into a conversation. I was like, oh my God. Okay, trust is at a 10. And I like this old lady. We're cut from the same cloth. I'm like, hell yeah, whip that thing out. I love getting grossed out. Now, you got to be able to spin that back into a conversation. I'd be like, so that is probably why you're talking to me, right? You need a place where you can bathe yourself comfortably and you can clean that thing and make sure that you get circulation going to your legs. I know I'm here for a shower. Have you ever considered doing a walk-in bathtub with some jets so we can get some circulation going? And she was like, no, do you guys offer that? Oh, yeah, we do. So now I'm steering her in the same direction, or, in the right direction based on her needs. But I wouldn't know that unless she showed me her freaking gangrenous foot. The benefit of that happening is when people activate the self-disclosure loop, it's because they trust you, but more importantly, when people talk about themselves, they dump a bunch of dopamine and serotonin and all these fun neurotransmitters into their brain. So you're biohacking them. Form, this whole method here, this was invented back in, I think, the 70s. And it was designed for people who were socially awkward so that they could have a framework of conversation when dating. It's like, I'm so nervous. I don't know how to talk to people. You don't. Just get them to talk about their family, what they do for work, what they do for fun, what motivates them. They're going to fall in love with you and they don't even know why. Well, it's because they love them. I'm always happy to see me. And so is everybody you meet. Now, we ask these open-ended questions, then we want to layer it. This is the next acronym. So we went through form. The next one is all. ALL, ask, listen, layer. This becomes an interrogation when you ask a question and they answer and you move on to the next question without digging. So I pull out my survey and I go, John, Mary, how long have you owned this home? We've been here 7 years. Uh-huh. And how'd you hear about our company? I just missed a huge opportunity here. I don't really care about them. I'm just checking items off a list. So if I ask them a question, so guys, when did you buy this place? You been here long? Like, yeah, I've been here about 7 years. You like it? How's the neighborhood? I'm genuinely interested. I want to actively listen. How would you guys describe active listening?
Usually repeating back a little bit of what they initially said and then transition into another question or whatever.
Yeah, how's it different from just listening? Yeah, chicken nodding. Good call. Blue collar is typing furiously over there because their mic's not working.
You're not focused on what you're going to ask next. You're actually listening to what they're saying. And then after you've heard what they've said, your next question is going to be directly related to what they said because you were listening to what they said. It's not about your next question as, oh my goodness, what am I going to say next? And then what am I going to say after that? No, you're listening, you're processing, you're genuinely engaged with them in conversation.
That's beautifully put. That's exactly, and we all know when we're being actively listened to, right? You can feel it. Do most people in today's society actually take the time to actively pay attention to you? So it's also becoming more and more of a rare experience for the homeowner, and they crave it because connection is a fundamental human need. Feeling understood and understanding other people. This is how we've passed information down from generation to generation. Conversation, storytelling, not through this thing. This is destroying society, unfortunately. Sure is making us more efficient, though. So seeding and layering, once we understand who the prospect is, we want to start to plant seeds in their mind. We talked about how this is all based around neuro-linguistic programming. Seeding and layering is where you plant a thought or an idea into a prospect's mind, and then through consistent reinforcement, it will start to grow and nurture into their belief system. And that's what we want. By the time I leave that house, I want them to tell me that the shower system that I just sold them for 18 grand or the roof that I just sold them for 50 grand is a steal. There's no other way we would do this. We're so glad you came out. The value exceeds the cost. So there are some word tracks in the book that you guys will read tonight, and I'm not going to read all of them because you have to read them and redundancy is a pain in the ass. But like the first one on here says, everyone who has ever seen this product has fallen in love with it. Easy for me to say. One of the lines I'd throw out in the house is everybody knows that, remodeling a bathroom by the square foot is the most expensive home improvement project you can do. Even if they don't know it, if everybody knows it, they're not going to be like, well, I didn't know that. It's a form of price conditioning. They don't want to feel like they're the one who's not in the loop. And we want to layer those things over and over again. Has anybody in here gotten really good at price conditioning people? Yeah, Kyle? Who else we got here? Is that Randy or Randall? I'm calling Randy. Randall, you got experience? You want to unmute? How do you price condition?
I feel like I'm good at price conditioning, in my own head, in my own script, but, this is great that I'm involved in, but usually with price conditioning, what I'll do is I'll walk right in and I'll just ask simple questions like, what do you know about windows? And I'll start gathering information. As soon as they start saying things like, we want one of those folding doors off of the back, I'll automatically start talking to them about price ranges to see if we should continue to go down that route or not. A lot of people go on Pinterest and they'll see a folding door and it'll be, you know, when I tell them it's going to be a $30,000 project, they thought it was going to be an $8,000 project, and that's their budget. So then we start kind of rerouting into different options, but still possibly still looking at that. So when I go into price conditioning, a lot of the times I'm trying to gather information to see through the process. So I'm their time's being spent more efficiently and mine's being more efficiently, and we're doing that together and we're navigating it to where it needs to be to get to their budget and get their project done efficiently. So that's kind of how I do it. There's more steps than that, but automatically when I get there, that's why when we first started doing this training and we had looked at Yoho and different ones, they kind of do it a little bit differently. So I was relieved when you talked about price conditioning. So that's something that I'm working on in that area.
It's one of the most important things that you have to do when it comes to seeding and layering. And we can price condition on so many different parts of the job, and very few sales reps are good at it. You got to work at it. Sometimes you can price condition specifically, right? So like, listen, a door like that, you guys are starting at 18K, whatever the heck the number is, right? And it goes up from there, depending on color, style, glass pack, hardware. Like, you can get crazy with these. I've had people who spent 35 grand on a door. You can price condition with numbers that way. You can price condition more vaguely when it comes to, like, early in the survey. One of the questions we have is, you know, are you guys cash buyers or finance buyers? There's a version of that on there. Well, that's kind of hard to ask them early on because they don't know who you are or what you're selling. We haven't seen the scope of work yet. It's kind of a bold question to ask when it's very nebulous right now as to whether or not we can even do this project. But I still see an opportunity to price condition and plant a seed that we offer financing and give them an idea of what this project is going to cost. So most of the projects that we sold were over 10 grand. Is that true for pretty much everybody in here? Sometimes, you know, with some variation, sometimes you sell one window and it's 4 or 5 grand, whatever, but it's rare for us to go out and one call close a deal that's not approaching 5 figures. And that's what I throw out there. I'd be like, so guys, I have no idea if we can do this project yet. We'll take a look at all that. And if we can, not sure if we're the type of company that you guys would trust. We'll have to talk through that and see if we're a good fit. The one thing I know for sure is that most of the people I talk to do not have 5 figures laying around to do a home improvement project. And even if they do, they'd rather do this in a way that's comfortable and affordable. So as we talk through this, just keep in mind, whatever your monthly budget is, we have a lot of different ways we can fit it into that. Have you guys talked about that at all? So I plant a seed and I hit the ball to them with an open-ended question and see what they say. And then from that point, I want to resist the urge to sell them any of this. I just want to plant the seed. And then if they say, well, that's something we'll talk about, I'll be like, no problem. And keep in mind, you know, if you're talking like 150 to 200 bucks a month, 250 to 300, whatever it is, just let me know when we get to that point, because I don't want to show you guys something that's way outside your budget. All right.
Hey, Dan.
Yeah.
Is that something you would typically do going through your needs analysis?
Yeah.
Your survey? Yeah.
That's a seed I plant early on.
Cool.
Now, has anybody in here ever price conditioned too early in an appointment and had it backfire? Point the thumb on this one. Kick somebody right into fight or flight. I talked to a woman, this was way up north near Eau Claire, Wisconsin. I say up north because it was like a 3-hour drive for me. And I started talking with her. She was looking to do a tub to shower conversion. Or a tub. She was looking to replace her tub shower combo, rather. And as I was talking to her, early on, I price conditioned too soon with a range. She was like, what do these things run on average? And I just said, well, there's a pretty big price range. The cool thing about our system is it's design build, you know? So I have people who build relatively basic stuff. It's like 6 to 7 grand. I've had people on the high end where we're talking 35, 40 grand. Just depends on what you want. And she goes, stop. You telling me the cheapest one that you can offer me is 6 to 7 grand? I was like, stepped in it here. This is like 5 years into my career. I should have known better. I didn't know her well enough to throw that number out. And I was like, well, we'll design it and we'll see what you come up with and I'll price it to the penny. And she held me to it. She was like, but the cheapest one you sell, the cheapest one you can do is 6 to 7 grand. I was like, yeah, probably. She goes, I'm sorry for wasting your time. We don't have to keep talking. So now I shot myself in the foot. I got to talk my way out of it. We talked yesterday about how empathy is really important, and I didn't understand why she said that. And I could either tuck tail and leave, or I could dig with some layering questions. So I just went, well, that's no problem. Listen, if 6 to 7 grand is beyond your budget, I appreciate that. I also live on a budget. We might not be the right fit for you, but I've been doing this for a long time. Why don't you tell me what you have in mind and maybe I can steer you in a different direction? So now there's a what's in it for her statement out there. And she goes, yeah, I'm looking to spend no more than 2 to 3 grand on this. I was like, okay. 2 to 3 grand all in? She goes, yeah. I'm like, how important is warranty to you? She goes, it's not. I'm like, all right. There's 2 options you can go with. Do you mind if we sit down? She's like, sure. I sat down and I started talking to her about the first one, which is reglazing her existing tub. She's like, I don't want to do that. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, we're good.
What's height per window?
Okay. Hot mic, sorry. Right out the bat, she's like, I don't want to do that. I want to replace it. And I was like, all right, well, if you're looking at replacement and you're looking to be in that budget, you're talking about hiring an independent contractor and probably buying like a 4-piece fiberglass surround system from Home Depot. And you might be able to get between 2 to 3 grand for that. Why are you replacing this? And after like 10 or 15 minutes of us talking back and forth this way, she goes, here's the thing. Now it's truth time, finally, because I tore down her walls and I was trying to help her. She goes, here's the thing. I have stage 4 brain cancer. I'm going to be dead in 6 months. And I have to get this thing fixed because our old tub is cracked. And I want my kids to be able to sell the house quickly when I die. You talk about motivation that knocks the wind out of you, right? So then I'm like looking through my sales book. Hold on, I got an answer for this. Stage 4 brain cancer. Holy shit. So anyway, I was like, oh my God. So sorry to hear that. And she was very stoic about it, but I was like, 6 months. Have you started treatment? Because you look good. She's like, no, I'm starting this week. I was like, how you feeling? I just went human being with her, which I think everybody should do. If you lost somebody to cancer, you know that sucks. She goes, I feel okay. And I was like, well, I'm not telling you anything you don't already know, but that's going to change real quick. And I can tell you for sure that if you spend $2,000 to $3,000 on this shower system, it's going to be a nightmare in a time that you cannot afford a nightmare. You're already living in one. You do not need to deal with some fly-by-night contractor who's going to come in here and put some builder's grade piece of shit in here. Sell it as is. You're better off doing nothing. That opened the floodgates for her. And then as we started talking, I was like, I can't help you with that problem, but I can help you with this problem. And if you are looking to get the most money possible out of this house for your children so they're set financially, I can show you a system that is so hot right now that you will get people in a bidding war and you will more than get back the money you put into this. And it's a transferable lifetime warranty. So like it will be a selling feature and this house will move quickly as well, because I'm assuming speed's important. The house is not going to sell quick if you don't have a functional shower system, right? But I can't do that for 2 to 3 grand. So like 3 hours later, we ended up writing a deal. And I financed it with her. I was like, listen, if you really want to get back at the man, put a minimum deposit down. We'll finance this thing for 10 years. You die, debt dies with you, dude. You're good to go. But you got to figure out what makes people tick. You got to get them to tell you the truth. If they won't open up, you can't sell them. And that all goes back to being a good human being as well, because I really wanted to help this person. If you lost somebody to cancer, this sucks. You cannot deal with a shitty contractor when you're going through chemotherapy and radiation. It just doesn't work. You get white glove treatment with us, and it sounds like that's what you want. That goes back to our 4 keys to building trust. I know we touched on that yesterday, but the reason I told that story is because we talked about this, and this is the part of the chapter we're in right now. Anybody tell me the 4 keys to building trust we talked about yesterday?
Empathy, authenticity, integrity, and confidence.
Wonderful. Empathy, authenticity, integrity, confidence. We're going to waterboard you guys with these things until they're just stuck in here. The next page, we have another acronym we're going to dive into here. Now, this takes us back to the personality type. Because once we figure out family, occupation, recreation, motivation, we got to figure out what type of negotiator these people are. So how many of you guys have ever listened to or read anything by Chris Voss? Nobody? All right. If you want to read probably the single best book on negotiation I've ever read, you should read Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. It's brilliant. And anytime I'm reading these things, I always want to know, is that true based on my life experience? And pretty much everything in that book is just dead on from dealing with the public my whole life. So one of the things that he preaches is that every single human being has a response to stress. We all have a fight or flight response, yeah? So this is a survival aspect of being a person. This goes back like 2 million years when our brains started to evolve. And the whole concept is when a stressor is introduced into our life, we respond in one of 3 ways. We fight, we run, or we collaborate, we make friends. That is our baseline stress reaction. So when you get kicked into fight or flight, what happens to you physiologically? Anybody know?
Increased heart rate, start sweating.
Is logic important?
Not at that point.
Nope. You're living on reflex. The brain is actually fascinating. When you're in fight or flight, they've done a lot of brain scans on this. The blood rushes out of your frontal cortex and it goes to your major muscle groups and your heart. It leaves your intestinal tract. You don't need to digest at this moment. You are as big and strong and fast and subsequently dumb as you can possibly be. So your IQ drops by 1 standard deviation when you're in fight or flight mode. Anybody ever get in a fight with their spouse? And you know exactly what you want to say, but the words don't come out because you're seeing red? You're an idiot in that moment. That's the old George Costanza. That's what I should have said. You pulled a U-turn, but it's already too late. When you get into fight or flight, it's called that for a reason. 2 million years later, from when evolution started, our stressors are different. We're not getting attacked by saber-toothed tigers anymore, but in sales, we're hearing a lot of objections. And for homeowners, we're saying things that they object to. And that kicks both of us into fight or flight. So just know that when that happens, you're actively dumber and you go to your baseline, hardwired standard for dealing with stress. If you are a fighter, you are an assertive negotiator. How many of you guys have a default fight mode where you go right into assertion? Yeah? Homeowner says, we need to think about it. We need to sleep on it. You're like, you said this is what you wanted. Were you lying? You mad about it. Assertive people, when they go to default fight mode, they are looking to win. They want to beat you. When they're negotiating, they are not looking for a win-win. They're looking for a win-lose. And those people were very challenging for me early in my career. Assertive people dog-walked me in negotiation because they would throw out some ridiculous low anchor. I'd lay down a price for 30 grand and they'd be like, I'll do it if you can hit 20. And then in my head, I was like, how am I going to put a $30,000 project into a $20,000 price tag. I didn't have to do that. It's impossible to do that. Don't do that. But I need to figure out what makes assertive people tick because I'm not naturally assertive. So what do assertive people value? If you raised your hand where you said, I am assertive, what do you value?
The best deal possible.
The best deal possible. What does that mean for you?
Highest quality product at the best price.
Yep.
Thinking it's my idea.
Oh, yeah. Control.
I'd say truth.
Truth.
Don't lie to me. Just be straight with me. Tell me what my options are. Tell me what I can have and give me exactly what you said I can have.
Yeah, and what you just summarized is efficiency. I want the best deal. I don't want you to beat around the bush or sugarcoat it. Give it to me straight. Assertive people have the lowest rate of cancellation of any of the homeowners that I worked with. Once they make a decision, they typically stick to it and move on to the next one because they're busy and they value their time. Time, control, ego. All those things are important. So Dominic is highly collaborative as a human being, but he's a textbook assertive when it comes to negotiation style. He will talk over you if he feels like he has something that's more important to say. He takes control of every situation. It's one of the things that I actually look up to when it comes to him. I don't like interrupting, but I do like the way he carries himself. So he was looking to buy a Ford Raptor. What do Ford Raptors cost? Anybody know?
60, 70 grand.
Yeah, they're pricey. So he went up to this guy at the dealership and he's wearing a power suit. If you haven't met Dominic, he's about 5'6", carved out of stone, bald, always wearing power suits. And he walks up to this guy on the lot and he goes, tell me about that blacked out Ford Raptor over there. And the sales rep looked him up and down, and then he looked over at the truck and he went, listen, man, if I'm being honest, it's just too much truck for most guys. Are you sure you want to see that? So he made a business decision. He read who he thought Dominic was and he challenged his ego. And Dominic went, yeah, why don't you go get those keys? And he drove it home that day. It was a one-line close. Never haggled on price because it was a power status thing that he was buying, right? These people that are assertive will try to beat you down on price because they want to win, and they'll have a 7 Series out in the driveway. So if I can challenge their ego, I can get them to fight with themselves. They're also addicted to correcting you because they like to feel right and powerful. So mislabeling their position is an easy way to extract information from them.
They also love to prove.
Oh, yeah. They want to dominate. Let them. Their overconfidence is their weakness. Once I figured out how to do that, I started hip tossing those guys into closes. So instead of cutting my price down, I'd be like, well, listen, if 20 grand's the budget, there's a lot of ways we can get there. You know, not everybody wants to hire top tier installers. So like if we could hire day laborers off the street, they charge about 1/3 of the hourly rate. I don't have to insure them. Now you're going to have to sign something that voids your warranty, but it'll probably get you closer to that 20 grand. Is that something you'd be open to? So I started taking stuff from them. And that would violate how they do business. And they'd be like, no, I don't want that. Are you being serious? I'd be like, I wouldn't do that either in a house like this. This is beautiful. But what you're describing is not realistic. So how am I supposed to do that? So summarize that they're being stupid and illogical and then hit the ball back to them. Whose problem is this, by the way? Is it my problem that they don't want to pony up the dough for the Cadillac I'm selling? That is their problem. The roof on my house is awesome. No holes in my house. You need me. I don't need you. They also respect strength, but I don't want to challenge them for authority. So I want to match their level of intensity minus 1%. That starts with the handshake at the front door. Those are the people that grab your hand and break it. I don't want to have a dead fish handshake with an assertive person because they do not respect weakness. So match their level of assertion minus 1%, challenge their ego to get them to do things your way, and just be firm with your price. It is what it is. Now, if you go to the other side of this coin, the opposite of the assertive is the analytical. These are the flight people we talked about, the engineer. Yeah, go ahead.
Dan, do you do that use that technique on all assertive people that you deal with? And in that, what percentage of it does it like, hey, it's working?
Yeah, so I will ramp up my level of aggression very slowly. Like I am always respectful and I want them to feel like they're in control because they respect power. And they want to be respected. They will not work with you if they feel like you're disrespecting them, just on principle. But I also speak very matter of factly. The tone of my voice hardens, a lot of downward inflection. I tend to slow down the way I talk in certain areas. So I do that, like those techniques, I do it with every assertive person I meet. And if they start getting chesty with me, I'm not going to back down from them because I know if they dominate me, they see me as less than. And now I'm on my heels and they're just going to keep going. There's no. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
so it's very, very clear that if you take sort of a soft approach, more often than not, you're going to fail versus taking more of an assertive approach.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't respect weakness. Nor should they. These people are usually movers and shakers, or that's how they see themselves. So I'd be like, listen, you seem like the type of person who values their time. You already told me that I have exactly what you want. We're a company you trust. You just don't want to pay for it, which I get. But what is professionalism, precision, and white glove treatment worth to you? See what they say. Not that much. Cool. How much? What's your budget? And then when they tell you, you can start to tweak the project. I'm never backing off my price. If you want this thing the way we designed it, this is the price. If we're talking about $1,000, I can go into like an efficiency incentive. I can give them a logical drop, something that's legitimate and time sensitive, where I'm like, well, listen, you want to get down to that number, I can do it. You got to do something for me too. This isn't a charity, you know that. You wouldn't work with a charity anyway, would you? You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
You know, I like what you just said. And they said, well, not that much. And you said, cool, how much? That was like AIM, acknowledging, ignoring, and moving on quickly. Like I just caught that. So that was good.
Draw an offer out of them, man. If they say 20 grand, the beautiful part of assertive people is they're way more likely to throw a low anchor out, which means I don't have to build $30,000 of value anymore. I just have to gap sell. They just told you, all I heard them say anyway, is I'm willing to spend $20,000 on what you're selling. Which means I'm willing to spend $20,000, which means I'm not leaving here without $20,000 at least. Now we just have to make the project work. And it's either bring your number up or change the scope. So the way you hear what people say, we say objections are good. Listen for the positive. If they're objecting, they're negotiating. That means they want to keep talking with you. We want it, but we have a problem. Sweet. I love solving problems. The analysts are more difficult. So once I figure out how to close assertive people pretty regularly, I had to get into the flight mode. We talked a lot about this. You're going to be lingering with these people for a while. They do not respect dominance, cold, hard logic, intellect, data. It's valuable. So I have to get them to see me as a fellow intellect. But I don't want to challenge them for intellectual superiority either. Make sense? We have to have mutual respect and understanding. And I have to be very generous with my time and my knowledge. You better know everything about your product or you're probably screwed. These are the people who also keep their cards close to the chest early on. They don't want to give you any answers to open any questions. And this is where labels come in real handy. Seems like, sounds like, looks like, feels like. I would stick with seems like statements with analytical people. They're allergic to feeling. Feels like, whatever. Yeah, I want to go seems like or looks like. But they value data, so strap in. That was going to take a while. The last one is the group. I should just ask this before I move on. How many of you guys feel like you're naturally analytical? By show of hands. Yeah, data driven. All right. Is there anything that you want to add to this? Because I've just been talking about this, but you guys are analytical. What else do you value?
NBS.
When
Yeah, go
when people don't try to just bullshit you, they actually just they're saying what they mean what they say, and they're giving me facts. If they start trying to just make up a story, I can sense it.
Oh yeah, that is actually a really good segue here. How many of you feel like you're really good at detecting when someone's lying to you? Yeah, if your hand is up, statistically speaking, you are wrong. It's very hard to tell when people are lying to us. Why? Why do people lie?
To get the salesperson out of their house.
Buyers are liars, that's for sure.
Self-defense.
Self-defense. You ever lie to somebody to spare their feelings? We lie to people
to avoid confrontation.
Avoid confrontation. Yeah. We lie for all kinds of different reasons. And it's very hard to identify it because everyone's lying all the freaking time for one reason or another. Sometimes they're big lies, sometimes they're little lies. How many of you feel like you can tell when someone's bullshitting you? This is something that most people have a sixth sense for. We feel it in our gut. What's the difference between lying and bullshitting?
The same thing.
They're similar.
It's exaggerated.
Hmm. Yeah, how so?
They're usually blowing a lot of smoke. Like, for example, with like competitor quotes, somebody, and maybe I know the company, maybe I've worked for them, and they're telling me they had a quote for this, and I know that company doesn't sell a ticket even near that price.
Yep. Yeah, if they're bullshitting, it's usually something that we pick up on because we know something is off because of something they just said. It's almost always self-serving when you're bullshitting. It's like you're trying to look much grander than you actually are in the grand scheme of things. And people pick up on that. It rubs them the wrong way. I tie it to authenticity all the time.
So they can try to control the narrative.
Yeah. They're trying to get something from you. Maybe it's your attention. Maybe it's your money. Maybe it's your phone number. They're always trying to get something. You're not always trying to get something from somebody when you're lying. That's my experience. Anybody else have anything they want to add to that?
Bullshit usually comes with too much detail.
Oh, yeah. Lots of detail. Try to bury people in the obscurity of the story. Don't bullshit people. You ever tell anybody that you don't know the answer to a question and you see the relief on their face? It is so rare in our society today for somebody to just go, you know what? I don't know. Everybody's an expert. They always want to be the smartest person in the room. It drives me freaking nuts. I had a homeowner, I had a ride along with me, and this guy asked me one time, what's the foam density rating on the by pounds per square inch on the foam that you guys use to insulate your shower pan? Does anybody know that off the top of their head? Thank God I'm not the only one. I started laughing. I was like, dude, no one's ever asked me that. I've been selling this for years. I have no idea. I do. Megan knows. What is it? She turned the camera off.
750 pounds per square inch.
750 pounds per square inch. You get a bull elephant walking around on that thing and be fine. That's wild. So we looked it up together. I was like, dude, I have no idea, but I have every piece of information from BCI right at my disposal here. And we looked through an 86-page document until I found the name of the foam, and then he Googled it. And he goes, holy crap. He goes, that's the densest foam that you can put into a shower pan. And I started laughing. I'm like, dude, of course it's the foamiest foam there is. Everything we do is like that. That doesn't surprise me at all. So he said it. Now it's true. I just got to agree with him. All right. So I just want to bring that up because lying and bullshitting, you're going to see a lot of it. And especially the BSing part, it's hard to identify when people are lying to you. You got to look for it with buyers all the time. They are lying constantly because they're human beings. If we're going to finish off the 3 different personality types, we talked about assertive, we talked about analytical, and if you guys like keeping them all A's, the last one is going to be the accommodator. So fight, flight, make friends. You could also call the accommodator a collaborative person. This is the bucket I fall into naturally. Conversationalist. I like to appease people. A people pleaser. How many of you guys fall into this category? Yeah.
I do, definitely.
Yeah. So what do we value as accommodators? Yeah, go ahead. If your hand's raised.
Dan, quick question. What page are you on in the
I'm on page, well, in my book, I'm on page 63. I believe that's page 43 for you guys. There should be a chameleon with a briefcase. And it says adapt, be a chameleon.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
You bet.
We,
go ahead, Josh.
We appreciate like relatability, common ground, you know what I mean? Likability, stuff like that.
Yeah. I'm always looking for a win-win. Oh, go ahead.
I would say again, it's truth. You want somebody to truthfully tell you their needs so you can fix them. You know what I mean? I mean, if they're just, as you put it, bullshitting you, you guys are going to be all over the board. It's a waste of their time and yours. You're trying to, you know, be accommodating and fix. So everybody being truthful to me is the best way to go.
Yeah, and what you just said really hit it on the head. You know, everybody being truthful for me is the best way to go. We like win-wins. We like to be open and honest. We're usually direct and open. If anybody's ever taken a personality profile test, like a DISC test or a Wonderlic, for the DISC test, I'm high D, super high I, classified as a persuader, open and direct.
They often like the journey. They have fun with the journey, the trip, the process.
Yep. Really easy to sell people. We suck at closing.
You want to make friends with them right away, so they ask you questions to educate them and suggestions and advice on the product.
Absolutely. Yeah, my target is for them to be comfortable and relaxed the whole time and to have them see me as an ally as quickly as possible. It's a strength conversationally. What's the weakness?
You can go above and beyond.
Wait, sorry, say that again.
You can go above and beyond what you need to do because they're not being as truthful with you as you had hoped.
Yes, and we are very susceptible to brush off objections because we hear what we want to hear as collaborators. If you're a collaborator, when you're a client, you're a customer talking to a salesperson, it's rare that you will just tell somebody flat out no. We usually give brush off objections, at least I do, and most of the collaborators that I've worked with have hit me with brush off objections all the time, where they're just like, that sounds great. You just covered everything. I'm so happy you came out. We don't even need to get other bids, do we, honey? I mean, we got to move a little bit of money around, and it usually takes about 72 hours for us to do that. Can we call you back on Monday so we can get this started? That's a strong brush off objection. And if you don't notice it for what it is, you'll be like me as a young sales rep who would leave that house without the deal and go back to the office and be like, hey guys, I got a good one. Going back to sign it on Monday. This thing is ready to go. It's gonna be a cash deal. And then all the other reps just look at you and start laughing.
Still waiting for that call, aren't you?
Still waiting for that call.
That's a monster in the industry.
Yeah. That is particularly hard on collaborative people because we are naturally optimistic and we want to believe people. What are the three types? The three types are assertive, the accommodator, and the analytical type. Somebody just threw that in the chat. So you got to know your strengths and weaknesses. This starts on this page with the chameleon with some fill in the blanks. We want to know our style. So I asked you guys who falls into what category. If you're naturally assertive, you're probably going to be pretty good at selling other assertive people. You are probably also good at closing the accommodators, though I would imagine a lot of them cancel on you. Those are the people who sign just to get you out of the house because they feel intimidated. If you are analytical, you're probably really good at talking to other analytical people because your brains work the same way that their brain works. The problem with this is if we don't identify our own style, we're screwed because you're only sitting across the table from somebody whose brain works the same way your brain works a third of the time. And if you close 100% of people who think the way you think, your closing percentage is only 33%, and that's just not good enough. So you got to figure out what each one of them values, and you have to be a chameleon in the house. And that brings us to the ADAPT acronym. The A stands for assess. You guys are going to read this tonight, so I'm not going to read the definition to you. It goes assess. The D is determine. Second A is adjust. Assess, determine, adjust, perceive, and track. So tonight, that's part of your homework. You got to figure out what category do you fall into. And I want you to figure out how you can influence people who are cut from a different cloth. That's something you should be thinking about all the time. It's hard to crawl outside your skin and crawl into somebody else's brain and figure out what levers to pull to get them to do what you want. But it's not about you. It's about them. So assess, determine, adjust, perceive, and track. Best salespeople I ever worked with are everybody, and they're nobody. They are true chameleons in the house. I don't care if they've got a Trump sign out front or a Harris sign out front. I can be their ally. I have no personal opinion about anything. It's like they're looking in the mirror. They don't really know what it is about you. They just like you. Some people say that you're a snake when you're like that. If you're doing it for your benefit, you are. Stop doing that. But if you're doing it to help them solve a problem, they're always happy to be around themselves. They at least know how they think. So if you can piggyback on that, they're going to be like, this guy gets it. I want to work with this guy. All right. Any questions about ADAPT or the 3 personality types? And we could do a freaking week on that alone.
Yeah, what page is it? 3 personality types?
I don't even think we have that in the book. But if
Okay.
you want to do a deeper dive on that, you should read Never Split the Difference. He really does a deep dive.
Okay.
And I would write them down because that's something that you need to know for the final exam. So write them down. Assertive, analytical, and you can put accommodator, or you can put down collaborative. All right. Any other questions? Page 44. Thank you. I love when you guys are all working as a team. Make my job a lot easier. It's the best. Moving right along. For the next couple pages in the book, you guys are going to see a bunch of survey questions. If you don't have a survey, we have a lot of examples of them in the file vault. So when you graduate, if your company needs a survey, if you don't have a needs analysis, you can go in there and pull out a template and then you can change them and put your company name on there and do whatever you want. We try to make it easy for you. But that is the roadmap to the sale. The survey is always the roadmap to the sale. If you don't understand your prospect, it's very hard to sell them. Some of the questions in here can be a little tricky. If you have a survey, if your company has one, I'd recommend that you get one so that you can study the questions tonight. You can pick out a couple that are challenging to ask. We can talk about them tomorrow. One thing that we had on our survey is in the book. It says the 4 closing boxes, and this will be on page 48 for you guys. Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I'm just curious, with technology, we're using iPads quite a bit. What's your perspective on using pen and paper versus technology in the home?
I like having every tool that I can because clients are all different, If I'm talking to old people, they're allergic to technology. So I like having a pen and paper. They usually comment on it. Like, man, you're actually writing that stuff down? And be like, well, yeah, you said it. I'm assuming it's important. They like that. They're from that generation. But if I'm talking to people who are in their 20s or 30s, I'm going straight digital across the board because technology means we're financially stable as a company. We're cutting edge. We know what we're doing. They are absorbing all their content through their phones anyway. So I'm just going to lean into their existing patterns.
Yeah, so you have your survey on both your tablet and a pen and paper.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Absolutely. Sometimes introverts don't want to answer a bunch of questions. They're actually triggered by it. So I'd be like, I tell you what, I don't want to waterboard you. I'm sure that you have a lot of specific things you're looking for. We have a list of things where you could just read this real quick, take a look at whatever's important to you, and just write a couple notes in there. If that's the way they want to be treated, I'm treating them that way. But one of the things that I always want to bring up in the survey is the 4 closing boxes. So we know what objections we're going to get at the end of this conversation. What do people say to us for why they can't buy today?
Think about it.
Think about it.
Got to get multiple quotes.
Money.
Think, sleep, shop, money.
Have to speak.
Billy.
Have to speak with someone else.
Yeah, third party we got to talk to. Got to talk to my kid. Got to talk to my financial advisor. If
I don't do
only
anything on the first day.
they never make a decision on the first day. People do lie about all kinds of crap. It's hilarious because people are super predictable. So we want to start to dispel some of that nonsense ahead of time. How many of you guys like dealing with objections after the price is on the table? Anyone?
Brutal.
I don't like closing. I'm a collaborator. Closing is painful for me. I would much rather sell. Because if I deliver a masterful presentation, that is the greatest close in the world. I want them to be like, this is awesome. How do we get started? The way we do that is by planting seeds early on and killing those objections in their crib. So I'm going to start with shop around here. 4-box close. It says company, product, design, affordability. I want to plant seeds about how to hire a contractor in the mind of this homeowner because they've never done this before. So I'd be like, listen, when I was a kid, I grew up with my grandparents. My grandpa was a handy guy, but whenever he did a project that he couldn't do himself and they had to hire it out, he always told me, you got to get 3 bids. How many of you guys have heard that? I'd say that to the homeowner, right? Yeah, we were all taught that. You got to get 3 bids. Why? Why do we do that? I'll ask you, why do we get 3 bids?
Price.
I think they should go with the middle bid. Take the high, toss it, take the low, toss it, go with the middle. Great. What did you get with that middle bid? I don't know. It was just the middle price. So you don't know if you got a good warranty, good product, or this, that, or the next thing. So I like to front load that a little bit. And basically, if I see a lead that came from Angie, I know that Angie's telling people get 3 bids because she wants to make $500 off selling the appointments. Yeah. So I'll front load it casually. Yeah, there's a lot of people, if they go on Angie's list, they're getting 3 bids. Angie wants to collect $150 per appointment.
Now, my parents, they did siding like 9 years ago, and they had high, low, and mid, and they got hardy plank in their house. You know, and it wasn't installed good. It took 2 weeks. It was just not the greatest experience. And I asked my dad, why did you choose that one? He goes, well, I got the high, the low, and I went with the middle. And I'll tell people that story and say, you know, it didn't really work out the best. They have issues. They didn't make the decision based on any product knowledge or any information about the company, really. They just went with the middle one. Now, we feel that that's not the best strategy when making a decision on a big project like this. Wouldn't you agree?
I sure would. I mean, that's the whole deal is these people make decisions based on price. And there's a reason why we have the worst numbers in the country for customer dissatisfaction. Home improvement industry, if you look at the numbers, it's horrible. It's over 10 million complaints to the Better Business Bureau every year. Wild how bad we screw this up. But these people keep making the same wrong choices over and over again. It's all based on money. So I tell stories same way Matt just did about my grandparents. I'd be like, look, I had to get 3 bids. He always said, you want to make sure you're getting a fair price. You want to make sure that you're getting a good view of the market so you know what's available to you. And you want to talk to a couple different people because there's more than one way to skin this cat. So you don't want to go into this thing blind. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, right? And that worked for people from this generation because they didn't have big national corporations that were doing home improvement projects back in the early 90s when he was telling me this. Usually you're working with local contractors and you'd see these guys at church or the grocery store. Plus back then, somebody tells you they're going to do something, you look them in the eye, you shake your hand or shake their hand, they would do it. Their word was bond. Is that the way the world works today? Hell no. Not to mention, we used to manufacture things in this country. American made. What does that mean? Built to last. Now we deal with designed obsolescence. What is that?
Throw it away and get a new one.
Bellagio. Yeah, keep buying more and more and more. They want you to keep buying it over and over.
That's the business model. Make it cheap so it breaks and they have to buy another one. Cheap things aren't good. Good things aren't
cheap.
Are they? So nowadays, fast forward 30 years, people are getting multiple bids less and less frequently than they used to. And the reason is really simple. There are 4 key things that you guys need to look for when you're vetting a contractor. And the first one is the company. Do they have a long-standing history of greatness and proficiency in this market? Have they been around long enough that I know they're going to be here if I need them? What do the reviews say online from people who actually did work with these people in the past? The second thing is when you find the company, what's the product like? Is this a permanent solution to my problem in my house? If it is, how do I feel about the design? I'm going to be looking at this thing and interacting with it every day in my home. Do I like the design? And if you find a company that checks those boxes, company that you trust, history of greatness, awesome product you love, the most important one for most people is it affordable? Now, you guys shop however you want, but most people I talk to, when they find a company that checks those 4 boxes, they're done. I mean, when you find your car keys, do you keep looking for them? So keep that in mind as we're going through this. I want to see, do we check those boxes for you? And guys, if we don't, please tell me. We are not for everybody. You're not going to hurt my feelings. And that last line is an important part of this because I don't want them to think that I'm trying to drop them into a box where they're like, oh, let me guess, whose company is the best? Is it yours, Dan? I want to go the other way where I teach them how to hire a contractor and then invite them to tell me no if we don't check those boxes. Now, as we move forward in the training, oh, go ahead.
So sorry. Do you have what you just said as a script written in our book somewhere?
That's a good question. I believe it is actually right there where it says 4 closing boxes. Anything that's in blue is a script. It starts right above the 4 box closes, and then it keeps going. And knowing Dominic, it is at least 2 pages long.
Okay, great. Thank you.
He likes to kill a flea with a sledgehammer, so he will give you examples of all this stuff. And that's part of what you guys are gonna be doing for homework tonight is watching the videos for step 3, which is the survey, the needs assessment, and then reading the chapter. And I want you guys to really pay attention in here because conversational and collaborative sales, there's certain parts of it that I love that you might not, and vice versa. So if something jumps out that you really love in here, write it down. I want to hear from you guys. It's also going to show us a pretty good blueprint with this many people in a room of how different people with different personalities perceive value and what skills work best if you're assertive or if you're an accommodator, if you're an analyst. All right. Oh my goodness. Would you guys look at the time? Finished that chapter and freaking nailed it. I mean, unbelievable. What questions you guys have? I'll open it up for a few minutes. Or comments, whatever you got.
I have a question about the survey.
Mhm.
So we talked about making the survey organic, right? So you don't want to do a questionnaire one question after another. You want to make it friendly, conversational. However, should we write things down or not? Because when you're talking to someone and you're making natural, you're not writing things down.
Depends on how good your memory is. One of my personal advantages is when I'm in a conversation with somebody and I'm trying to help them and my paycheck's on the line, sharp memory. The details stick. That's part of being an accommodator. But if you have a problem with that, if somebody says something that's really important and you can tell it, just be like, I'm going to write that down. That sounds like it's really important to you. They're not going to object to that.
Right. And my
Sure.
other question is, which personality do you recommend showing that we are writing things down? The analytical one?
Yeah, for sure. I'm taking notes when analysts are talking. And I'm getting them to clarify their position. So I always want to ask a lot of layering questions with an analyst, especially if they're technical. Yeah, Chris.
Peter. Yeah, so just a point of clarification on the 4-box close. What you're suggesting is that if we can get them to nod their head on company product design, then really it becomes just an affordability thing. And so throughout the process, we just have to check those boxes off.
Yep.
Simple as that.
Yep. And we got to build urgency. So tomorrow when we talk about measure and inspection, we're talking about 2 steps tomorrow, measure and inspection and company story. We do the measure and inspection to build credibility and urgency. And then we get into our company story so we can literally check off a box in front of them. If we can get them to commit to the fact that we are the type of company that they would trust their home to, and they say yes, we shake their hand, we check the box. Then we move on to evolution, where we actually walk them through what's available on the market. And then we go through our product presentation. Once they're sold on our product, we check off product and design, and we've just boiled it down to affordability. Anything else you guys want to touch on?
I have a quick question.
Sure.
When you're in a house, and you have your client going, oh, I know I could do all this. I just don't have the time. I just don't have that. How do you personally answer that objection?
They don't have the time to do the project themselves.
Well, they act as if, oh, I could totally do this project myself. I know about this. I've done that. I've done this, but I don't really want to have to take the time to do it myself, kind of thing. Like, how do you show them that, or just what would your personal reaction be? I guess is my question.
Yeah, it depends on the project, but I'd be like, oh, nice. Are you a contractor? How much experience do you have with these projects? I want to get them to expose that they're not a master.
Okay.
And then from there, I'd be like, well, listen, I was a commercial carpenter for 7 years. I can put up garage doors with my eyes closed. But if I was going to do a shower in my house, or if I was going to put windows in, could I figure it out? Sure. Like, I'm handy. I got YouTube.
Yeah.
There'd be a whole lot of cursing going on, and I'd probably screw it up. So I appreciate that you guys are talking to experts here. I understand. I'm the same way,
Okay. All
You
right,
guys know you
appreciate
can
that.
do this for pennies on the dollar, though, right? So by hiring this out, you guys are going to spend way more than if you did it yourself. I'm sure you've already considered that.
So you're just very honest with them.
Oh yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yep. Perfection Glass, what you got?
Yeah, Dan, so I'm a bit chewing on this. We go back to the price conditioning thing because I want to perfect that. And I was just wondering if my example, if you thought that was good. I also, another price conditioning that I do is I try to go in with a higher end product on doors because we can sell vinyl or what I call plastic doors all day long. And a lot of times the customers will say, oh yeah, well, renewal was out here with that door and it was $20,000. And so I start talking about the door and talking about the benefits of it. And then they say, well, we've got a couple other bids with a vinyl door, and isn't that twice the price? And I say, yes, but it's twice the door. So I'm trying to price condition them, but sell them at the same time and keep them in tune with not just throwing a price out there with two products. So they'll just jump to the vinyl door and go with the cheap vinyl door. So that's always been part of my process as far as conditioning them and leading them to the product and not just basing it off of price and letting them go with the cheapest bid.
The way I do that with people is to get them to expose their flawed logic here, where I'd be like, guys, there's 1,800 window and door manufacturers in North America. Like, there's a million ways to skin this cat. What kind of car do you drive? They immediately shift gears and they're like, oh, we drive whatever. I'd be like, cool. Does it have crank down windows? Well, no, we got power windows. Did you pay extra for that? Yeah. What else does it have? And I get them to tell me all the features of their vehicle, and I'd be like, so that vehicle is not a base model. You guys paid up for things you wanted, right? This is just like that. We got to figure out what you're trying to do here, and I'll steer you in the right direction when it comes to the product. The only difference between this and that is, imagine you picked out your car with all those features, and then you agreed on a price, and then you had to go in the back, and they were like, here's your car, and there's 10,000 parts on the floor, and now you got to go interview somebody who's going to assemble this thing. Come back in 8 to 10 weeks and we'll have your car ready to go. A little bit different animal, right? That's what we're doing here. You're hiring a contractor and you're buying an unfinished good. There's 1,000 ways this could go wrong, and it doesn't really matter what the product is. That's why we start with the company. You got to make sure that you're vetting the contractor. I would rather have an artisan level contractor put an average product in than get the best product in the world and have some dude installing it who's watching a YouTube video on how to do that right in front of me. Price points vary all over the place on this. If price is the determining factor by the time we're done here today, I have failed you guys.
Are you cooking dinner tonight, or are we going to Ruth's Chris?
Yeah, there you go. I'll order the pizza. So whatever it is, I want to make sure they know off the bat, we are not a low price competitor. We don't negotiate on price. It's not price. There are 1,000 dudes sitting outside Home Depot who will put the biggest piece of crap ever in your house, and they'll give you a great price on it. Those aren't our competitors. Those are just dudes in pickup trucks. Any other thoughts?
Hey, Dan, I had a question.
Yeah.
You were mentioning about the tie downs, and I'm thinking about accommodators. They're going to say yes, yes, yes. How do you know when their yes is actually authentic?
Yeah, there's 3 types of yeses we deal with, right? There's collaborative, there's commitment, and there's counterfeit. We had a lot of counterfeit yeses from people who are collaborative. So I want to go with calibrated no questions for collaborators, because when they say no, it's definitive. So I can get confirmation by changing a yes-oriented question to a no-oriented question. So instead of saying something along the lines of, can you guys see this product in your house? Or on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate my product? Where I'm definitely leading them to the answer I want to hear. With a collaborator, I'm going to go open-ended question first. Like, okay, guys, I showed you everything that goes into this. How do you feel about this product? We love it. Okay, this is important. If you could change anything about this product, what would you change? This is an opportunity for them to commit by saying nothing. That's definitive. It's a form of no, right? Then I just repeat their word back to them in question form. That's called a mirror, which we'll talk about more. So I go, nothing? They go, I don't think so. I'd be like, so what you guys are saying is hypothetically, we fit this in your budget. This is what you guys want. Now I know I'm getting a commitment yes if they say yes to that because they have 3 layers deep of commitment, right? Gave them an opportunity to change anything, they wouldn't do it. They told me they loved it multiple times. And at that point, I'd be like, so if I could, would you? And then most people would be like, well, it depends, we got to see. I'm like, well, that's no problem. Affordability is the easiest part of my job. But if this is what you want, let's find a way to fit it into your budget.
Would that be the only person that you would layer, or would you do that same sort of thing with the assertive and analytical personality?
Yeah, with assertive people, it's more like when you hear the answer you want, hang up. They're decisive. They don't care about your feelings. So they're less likely to give you counterfeit yeses. And if you do get a counterfeit yes out of them, the tonality gives away the game. They're not going to appease you. So you try to get them to say yes and they say no. You're like, okay, well, they're direct. Yeah.
Thank
Chris,
you.
You bet.
Thanks.
I have another question. So have you ever price conditioned someone and then you did not offer something and then they don't go with you because you did not offer? So I had a client that I gave them a design, beautiful design with exactly what they were looking for, right? A driveway, and then somebody came and then my price was 80,000. And that's the price range that they gave me, right? They said, well, we want to be about, 80. So I gave them the 80. Someone else came and gave them a circular driveway, totally redesigned the whole thing. It was $120,000 and they got the project.
Yeah.
So if I knew that they wanted to spend it more, I would have designed differently. But since I price conditioned them, I kind of failed to give them what they really wanted.
So this is where we discover before we sell, right? This is why the survey is so important. I want to get these people into design mode where they're building their dream. Like, guys, if I could make a suggestion, as we go through this, build something that is going to make you smile every day, something you love. You're going to be living, this is your home. You know what I mean? If the price is too high, we can always move backwards. But the worst feeling in the world is where we get a project done and it hits your number just where you want it to. And then we do the project and I call you. I'm like, hey, how'd they do? Is it done? They're like, oh, they did great. How do you guys like it? And they go, it's nice. It's the worst. It's the worst feeling in the world for somebody who is a design consultant. I want you guys to be like, I can't believe I get to shower in here every day. I can't believe we put a circular driveway in front of our house. I feel like royalty now. What is that worth? Plus the ROI is substantial. You want to differentiate in the neighborhood? You got a circular driveway. Everybody else just got a pull and park. Come on now. So differentiate and build a dream. That is the goal. We want them drooling over this thing. The masterful presentation gets the result. I want it. I need it. I must have it. We get them to that point, money doesn't matter. Yep, Chris.
Yeah, I almost don't know how to ask this question, but our team right now is hovering around 29-30% close rate. You're bringing a lot of technique and tactics that, at least in our mind right now, theoretically gets us to that 50% potentially, right? So, and it sort of removes the whole price, because price is obviously one of the big objections that we get. Just reassure us that, hey, this works. This stuff is proven. It doesn't, we only sell windows and doors, including front entry doors. This stuff really works. Just kind of talk through that a little bit.
So there's 2 things to keep in mind. If you have a system that's proven, which this one is, guys, this system is 5 decades old. And if you look at all the heavy hitters on the Qualified Remodeler Top 500 nationwide, all of them use some version of this, whether it's Rodney Webb or Yoho or us. It is proven. Hundreds of billions of dollars a year in this industry are sold using this. I worked at Mad City, which is the most impressive sales room I've ever been a part of. I was very good at this. I peaked at about 52% close, FCC. There were guys there who were closing 60, 65, 70% doing this consistently year over year. It wasn't flash in the pan. 1 month I hit 70. No, like every month. Tons of volume, profitability. We were the most expensive company in Wisconsin, so price didn't matter. Failure to differentiate, it was what causes price to be the determining factor. But if you execute these steps the right way, people will find the money. They will never anticipate hiring anybody else. It's ridiculous. Like the idea of having another person come out here, why? There's no way we're going to find somebody who's better than you with a better solution for us. And you can make it affordable. When we get into closing, we'll talk a lot about leveraging financing, make it as painless as possible for them. We have the solution you love and you can get it right now and you don't have to pay for it till later. Welcome to America. That's how everybody buys stuff. So this system does work, and I can tell you firsthand, like the house I'm standing in right now, I paid for it with dollars that I made doing this. Cool. What else we got? Josh, are you unmuted?
Well, I don't know. It's just having a master's in psychology myself. You know, psychology is the study of the mind and how the mind operates. And all business is made up of people, and all people have a mind. And the NLP is basically, I mean, I'm just so passionate about all this because when you are programming new neural pathways in someone's brain, that is going to get anybody to do anything that you're wanting them to do, as long as you present yourself as a guide. I mean, look at TV. Look how TV has brainwashed us, programmed us. Like when COVID came out, look at all that. They're using NLP constantly, commercials, NLP. You know, so this whole system, training system, is based all around that. And that's why I believe in it so much, just to expand on. I mean, I called Daniel, what was it, Monday? I was just like, man, I'm pumped up because I've been selling this way for 10 years and never had a training from any kind of car dealership or solar company or home improvement company that based their training around psychological positioning of people. That's what this is. I mean, the greats, Napoleon Hill, Earl Nightingale, all of them. Read any book from any of them, Think and Grow Rich. It's centered around this, or this is centered around that kind of thinking.
Yeah, this is centered around that. Let's give Napoleon Hill his flowers on this,
right,
you know?
right.
Yeah. It works if you're talking to human beings. That's the beauty of this training. And it doesn't matter what you're talking to them about. It just works because this is designed to be really receptive in a human brain. So keep that in mind. The more you believe in it and the better you are at executing it, it's like any skill set. The more you work it out, the easier it gets. I am far better at this now than I was when I was selling, and I was pretty good at it back then. But I talk about this 8 hours a day, every day. That's all I talk about. So if you have that level of commitment to it, you will be dreaming about this stuff. You're so far ahead of customers. It's not fair. It's like you're a chess player. You're 5, 6, 10 moves ahead. They become so predictable that you can anticipate the objection and then you can bring it up in the form of a story. And then they go, see, that's exactly what I was thinking. And you're like, yeah, it's what everybody thinks. Now I can relate to their position. I brought it up and we can kill it together. And then that objection doesn't come up an hour from now. We already solved it. We'll talk more about that tomorrow. I kept you guys late today. We're 20 minutes past, but just to refresh homework tonight, step 3, get your survey if you have it. Find a couple questions on there that seem like they're challenging. We don't have any scripts to memorize tonight. I just want you guys to keep working on the intro script. Tomorrow we'll have a couple trial closes that you'll have to memorize, and we will be back here same time tomorrow, same place. So I appreciate you guys. I hope you're enjoying this. I love talking. I can't believe we have such a freaking huge group. This is so much fun. If you need me, call me, text me. Otherwise, I'll see you guys tomorrow.